Our president is very busy prosecuting his enemies. His goon squad today indicted his own former national security advisor, John Bolton. He is just brazenly lying about the economy and grocery prices. But he did have a chat with Vlad Putin today, which we know because...
I mean, he's an invasive species.
For California.
For the country, for the world. He's a wrecking ball, not just the symbolism and substance of the East Wing. He's wrecking alliances, truth, trust, tradition, institution.
Trump thought he could waltz into 2025 untouched, precious. Jimmy Kimmel's loading punchlines like ammunition, while Gavin Newsom's headshakes are practically an Olympic sport. The tension's thick, the egos are leaking air, and somehow Trump's still insisting it's all strategic genius. What's coming isn't politics, it's pure spectacle. The stage is set for a meltdown of epic proportions, the kind you can't look away from. Grab your popcorn, folks. The show's about to go gloriously off the rails.
Which we know because while he was on the phone with Putin, he posted, "I am speaking to President Putin now." The conversation is ongoing, a lengthy one, and I will report the contents, as will President Putin at its conclusion. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Never mind our attention to this matter. How about you paying attention to this matter? Why are you posting about a phone call?
It is about the United States of America. He doesn't believe in that. He believes in the red states. He's going after, it's a war. He's a wartime president. He's the head of a war party. War on women, war on voting rights, war on Hispanics, a war on this state.
Here we go again. Trump, the headline magnate who refuses to fade, storms back into the spotlight. Just when it seemed the circus packed up, Jimmy Kimmel drops precision jokes, and Gavin Newsom adds his trademark smirk. Politics or performance? At this point, the lines are completely, deliciously blurred.
Well, when he needs a good laugh, Putin schedules a phone call with Trump. And Putin is Bart Simpson and Trump is his Mo. Trump announced that he is going to meet with Putin in Budapest at a date to be determined because only he can end a war.
I don't think any president's ever ended a war, frankly. One war, I did 8 of them, Maria, right? And but I don't know, did Bush ever end? Do you think Biden ended a war? Biden started wars because he was stupid. But do you think Biden ended any wars? No, I don't know of anybody that ended wars. I ended 8 of them.
No president, nobody has ever ended a war other than him. All the other wars ended mysteriously by themselves.
The result? A chaotic spectacle, fireworks in a hurricane, with Trump at the storm's center, flailing and fuming, unsure if he's in a comedy roast, a campaign implosion, or the wildest political circus ever broadcast. Chaos reigns and the spotlight won't let go.
I mean, this is serious. This guy's trying to get a Nobel Peace Prize. That's what he's going to try to say tomorrow in Alaska, that he's the big guy trying to find peace, really? When he's bringing war to the American people? He put military in the streets, not of Baghdad. He didn't send the military in his first administration anywhere in the world. He sent the United States Marines into the United States of America in one of the bluest cities in this country, in Los Angeles, one of the great cities, American cities. That's what Donald Trump did. He is a wartime.
Jimmy Kimmel kicked things off, because who better to turn absurdity into performance art? He didn't pull a single punch. It was like watching him rev up a comedic chainsaw and hack through Trump's glittering pile of fake gold bricks, dismantling each inflated boast with surgical precision and a grin that said, "This is fun."
Trump gets a visit from Zelensky at the White House. They're going to see if they can figure out this thing with Bad Bunny, and then after that, we'll work on Ukraine. And most importantly, he still has his eye on the ballroom. Trump really wants a ballroom in the White House. Said the reason we don't have one already is because we've never had a real estate person as president, but now we have Blob Vila running the show, and we're gonna have one. Last night, Trump hosted a fundraising dinner for his big, beautiful $200 million wedding venue. The fact that the government is shut down because Republicans don't want to spend money on health care makes no difference to him, I guess. All the top people from Google, Apple, Amazon, you name it, lined up to eat beef stroganoff and kiss his ass.
The target wasn't just Trump's policies or his endless torrent of tweets, though, honestly, those alone could power a multi-season Netflix anthology. No, Jimmy Kimmel went for the full spectacle. The hair that defies physics, The grandiose hand gestures, the self-introductions that sound less presidential and more like a washed-up superhero trying to reboot his franchise. Only this time, the villain stole the spotlight. Each segment Kimmel delivered was a balancing act between chaos and craft. It wasn't just comedy. It was truth wrapped in satire, the kind of laughter that stings because it's uncomfortably accurate. He didn't settle for easy punches. Instead, he went full surgeon mode, dissecting Trump's contradictions layer by layer, peeling them back like an onion made of dollar bills, ego, and insecurity. You could almost see cartoon thought bubbles popping over Trump's head. Confusion, disbelief, maybe a flash of rage, as Kimmel turned his stable genius legacy into late-night canon. Every joke landed like a precision strike. But this wasn't a casual roast. It was a full-scale comedic takedown. And by the time the audience stopped laughing, one thing was clear. Kimmel hadn't just mocked Trump. He'd methodically unraveled him, exposing the absurd theater behind the man.
Us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe. Authoritarian regimes begin by targeting people who are least able to defend themselves, but they do not stop there. This brazen abuse of power by a sitting president inflamed a combustible situation, putting our people, our officers, and even our National Guard at risk. Take time, reflect on this perilous moment. A president who wants to be bound by no law or...
Then, just when the internet thought it had reached its collective gasp limit, Gavin Newsom stepped into the arena, armed with political precision, unshakable poise, and that signature California calm that practically whispers, "I've been waiting for this moment." Subtlety has never been Newsom's forte, and he didn't bother pretending otherwise. He approached Trump like an engineer dissecting a malfunctioning machine, inspecting every misfiring circuit and nonsensical response with equal parts fascination and disdain. There's a rare satisfaction in watching someone who actually understands systems, governance, and consequences methodically expose a man whose relationship with reality is, at best, open to interpretation. Newsom's takedown was clinical yet captivating, like watching a surgeon operate on a blow-up doll insisting it's human. Painful, yes. Hilarious, absolutely. And impossible to look away from. Piece by piece, he stripped away the layers of bluster, contradiction, and self-made mythology until what remained was a swirling mass of ego and denial, a political identity crisis unfolding live. The contrast was poetic. Kimmel, the entertainer, had used comedy like a flamethrower. Newsom, the governor, wielded intellect like a scalpel. Together, they orchestrated the perfect storm of mockery and truth. By the end, Trump wasn't just the punchline, he was the cautionary tale. Center stage in his own unraveling
Donald Trump's inner circle is becoming increasingly fearful of the impact what he sees on Fox News is having on his decision-making. Trump officials became concerned when Trump asked if he could get a reverse mortgage on the White House in one of those Terry Bradshaw walk-in tubs. A few weeks ago, there were reports that the reason Trump wanted to send the National Guard into Portland is because he saw Fox footage of unrest from 2020, and he thought it was happening in real time, and he still might think that.
One couldn't help but marvel at the symmetry, humor and intellect colliding in a perfect storm of humiliation. Jimmy Kimmel thrived on exaggeration, absurdity, and spectacle, transforming Trump's most infamous quirks into comedy gold. The sweeping gestures, the grandiose declarations that sounded like rejected fantasy dialogue, the uncanny instinct to twist any situation into self-promotion, all became raw material. Kimmel wielded these absurdities with surgical precision, amplifying them just enough to spark laughter without losing the sharp edge of truth beneath the humor. It was a delicate dance, a tightrope walk across a pit of lava on a strand of spaghetti, and Kimmel never missed a step. The world watched, entranced, as Trump's bravado became the punchline of his own myth, proof that satire exists to spotlight the absurd, especially when the absurd holds power. Meanwhile, Gavin Newsom wasn't chasing spectacle. He was engineering revelation. His approach was deliberate, methodical, almost forensic. He unraveled Trump's narratives one thread at a time, exposing contradictions, hollow bravado, and logic so contorted it bordered on surrealism. Watching him work was like watching a mechanic dismantle a glitter-covered engine made of chewing gum and wishful thinking, every move precise, every word designed to reveal just how hollow the machine truly was.
His weakness masquerading as strength. He's increasingly acting deranged, unhinged. I mean, you saw that 39-minute curious excavate of just narcissism at another level, where people had to sort of stare at dear leader as he was dancing or zoning out. I mean, this is a profound and remarkable moment, and I think he's not meeting that moment. I think he's increasingly concerned about his own candidacy himself, and he's going back to these safe places. I think it was a seventh or eighth grader that called me new scum. Now it's a 78-year-old. Maybe you could describe him also.
Newsom's approach was the kind that first makes your jaw drop in disbelief, then curl into a reluctant, almost admiring smile. It's rare to see authority wielded with such composure and precision in a world saturated with bluster and noise. The unspoken synergy between Jimmy's comedic chaos and Newsom's surgical scrutiny, though clearly unplanned, felt strangely poetic. Trump, of course, didn't handle it well. His reactions were pure, unfiltered Trump, defensive, confused, and performative to the point of parody, inadvertently stoking the very fire he was trying to smother. The result was a flawless feedback loop of absurdity, comedy and chaos amplifying each other in real time. The spectacle was mesmerizing, a reminder that sometimes the sharpest humor is simply truth presented without mercy. The best comedy doesn't need invention. It just needs a mirror. Beneath the laughter, though, there was intent. Kimmel's performance underscored why figures like Trump endure as both fascination and warning, living examples of what happens when ego eclipses accountability. Newsom, in turn, proved that scrutiny still matters, even against those who seem untouchable, immune to consequence or critique. And then there was Trump's reaction, half outrage, half bewilderment, an unscripted moment of vulnerability. For once, the man who built an empire on control found himself cornered by laughter, undone by his own performance. The
governor of Oregon informed them there was no security threat in her state. He said, well, wait a minute, am I watching things on television that are different from what's happening? Yes, dum-dum, you are. You're on a 5-year delay from the rest of us. But, I mean, it's no joke. And Trump's inner circle knows just how dangerous the incessant misinformation from Fox News can be, because they all worked there 10 months ago. It is frightening to know that the President of the United States is being briefed on world events by the same source as everyone at the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport.
Every tweet, every statement, every frantic attempt by Trump to reclaim control only magnified the absurdity. It was like watching someone try to put out a raging forest fire with a water pistol. Comically futile, especially when the flames were fueled by their own past actions. The real spectacle wasn't the attacks themselves, but his reactions, bewildered, defensive, and increasingly unhinged. The audience couldn't look away. The internet detonated with fascination. Clips of Jimmy Kimmel's sharpest moments spread across every platform, while Gavin Newsom's calm, calculated takedowns were dissected and praised like masterclasses in political precision. Memes multiplied overnight, encapsulating the madness, humor, and theatrical implosion of it all. People couldn't decide what was more captivating, the comedy, the exposure, or the sheer disbelief that Trump could still command attention amid his own unraveling. That's when it clicked. Trump had become a living metaphor for the battle between spectacle and substance, a real-time case study in how absurdity can both captivate and consume. What made it unforgettable was the balance. Kimmel's humor was sharp and deliberate, each punchline crafted to mirror Trump's own audacity without losing its bite. Newsom's critiques, meanwhile, were grounded in logic and fact, stripping away illusion with surgical precision. Together, they formed a perfect dual act. Chaos and control, laughter and truth. By the end, audiences were left both amused and uneasy, realizing they'd just witnessed something far greater than a roast.
The President of the United States did something unprecedented, and he picked up the phone and he called the governor of Texas and he says, I need 5 seats. And this is unprecedented. Never has the President of the United States ever made a call and told a sitting governor that you need to redistrict to get me 5 seats because I'm quote unquote entitled to them for exactly the reason you just said. Because he knows he's losing. He knows he's unpopular in every single key category, and he's going to lose the midterm elections. So the only way...
It was all about clarity. Jimmy Kimmel stripped Trump's behaviors of context, magnifying their absurdity, while Gavin Newsom exposed the real-world consequences of his decisions under unflinching scrutiny. Together, they created a storm of humor and insight, where entertainment and analysis collided, leaving audiences entertained, informed, and uncomfortably aware all at once. Remarkably, this happened without any coordination, yet the combined effect was undeniable. Trump continued playing the bewildered protagonist in a narrative he didn't control, flailing, gesturing, and desperately trying to reclaim the spotlight, only to feed more comedy and critique. Social media erupted. Comment sections buzzed, forums debated, and a deluge of content went viral, some mocking, some in disbelief. All impossible to ignore. Kimmel's humor became shorthand for ridicule, while Newsom's sharp critiques served as a blueprint for accountability. The dual assault evolved into cultural currency, endlessly shared and remixed, turning Trump into both a spectacle and a cautionary tale, a real-time illustration of how absurdity and reality collide, and why the intersection of comedy and scrutiny can be so irresistibly powerful.
He had bad ratings more than anything else, and he said a horrible thing about a great gentleman known as Charlie Kirk. And Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent. He's an incompetent governor. Look at the job he's doing in California. He's destroying one of our great states. And if I didn't get involved, if we didn't bring the guard in, and we would bring more in if we needed it, because we have to make sure there's going to be law and order. I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job.
And just when it seemed the spectacle had reached its peak, the ripple effects hit harder than a Twitter feud in a hurricane. Memes multiplied like rabbits on caffeine, each attempting to capture the perfect mix of Trump's bewilderment and the brilliance behind Jimmy Kimmel and Gavin Newsom's separate assaults. Every GIF, clip, and over-the-top reaction became its own miniature ecosystem, reinforcing the truth that Trump had transcended the role of mere political figure. He had become a living, breathing canvas for both comedy and critique, a man whose hubris fueled the creativity of an entire internet. Meanwhile, Trump oscillated predictably between indignation and confusion, as though navigating a funhouse maze where the mirrors kept shifting. The contrast between him and his two challengers could not have been more pronounced. Jimmy, the chaos bringer, wielded humor like a weapon, turning absurdity into entertainment gold, while Newsom, the methodical operator, demonstrated that accountability could slice through even the thickest veils of spectacle. Each move from the duo left them elevated in public perception, while Trump,